You guys. All right. Okay, so we're going to start off with cyan. We waited to do that so we could have a pure cyan. So let's load up our brush, and we'll paint the cyan here. Again, we don't want a little white space in between the cyan and cobalt, so we're going to paint a little bit, a tiny bit onto the line there. Okay, smooth it out, and then don't forget to paint the tip of the little brush on the inside that represents the primary color, subtractive primary of cyan right there. Okay, all right, now as we go to towards yellow, we had more and more yellow, but this is right next to cyan for the emerald. Okay, so let's see here, emerald. Okay, at the end we are going to be painting black, so we want to be careful not to use too much paint. Okay, so let's save, because we're going to need all the three colors to make the black. So I'm just going to move some cyan over, get some yellow in there and mix it up, see what we get. And we don't need too much yellow. This if you ever saw a pine tree or an actual emerald gem, that's the kind of color we're getting. So it does have quite a bit of cyan. I'm going to put some more cyan in there. It should be very darkish, kind of a green color. Yeah, maybe I put a little too much cyan in there. It should not be turquoise. It should definitely be green, but just barely greenish compared to turquoise. Mix it up and we'll paint it on. Spread that out. Okay. Now the green, that's not a usual green that you're used to seeing, like, I don't know, in the Crayola crayon green. That's more of an emerald color. But the kind of green we're looking for here, I tend to think of the primary color of green in light. It's a very light shade of green, but still kind of brilliant in color. In fact, I'm going to stop for a second. The definition of color is the hue, saturation, and value. Okay, so hue is the color on the color wheel. We know which color on the color wheel. So red's a hue, magenta's a hue, emerald's a hue here. Okay, then saturation, that's a new word. So saturation has to do with how brilliant the color is or how much gray is in it. If it's a very faded looking color, very grayish, then it's desaturated. But it's the Crayola colors are fully saturated. Okay, so if I'm talking about emerald here, the hue, well, is emerald. It's a color on the color wheel. The saturation, it's fully saturated. And then value. Remember back to value, we thought about squinting our eyes. If you squint your eyes at this color wheel here, you can notice that the yellow is very, very light. So it's yellow can actually be a 0 or 1 value. Okay, whereas these other ones, orange might be like a 7 value, and you know, these are pretty dark. If you squint your eyes, you can see how dark it is next to the white of the paper. Okay, so the definition of color is hue, saturation, and value. Okay, all right. So now this green color, I'm going to go ahead and mix in the yellow here, and it's a really light shade of green, but still kind of brilliant. And remember, this is going to dry lighter, so I think that's going to be a really good color that I have right here. Bless you. Alright, I'm going to get plenty of paint here. Alright. Okay, that's a real bright green, but we're noticing, you know, it's very different than the emerald. Okay, now we're going to make chartreuse, which is it's very, very yellowish. Just so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the green that's in my brush here, and then I'm going to mix it into this pure yellow. But remember, let's try to save some of that pure yellow because we are going to make black next, okay? Alright, so yep, that's all we need. Remember, it is going to dry lighter, so I think this will be good. Okay? Chartreuse. It's a very extremely light greenish yellowish color here. Spread that out. Okay. Alright, finish the color wheel. We have all of those hues, 12 hues on there. You can see these two are a very light value, but all of them are highly saturated. You know, it's the brightest red we can get, the brightest yellow we can get. Okay, next. We're going to make black. So another thing about the color wheel is it tells you what complementary colors are. Complementary colors are opposite on the color wheel. So for example, you could have magenta and green, okay? And with this color wheel, the additive subtractive color wheel, right? Complementary colors should make black in theory, okay? Why? Because they're subtractive, okay? So the idea here is all three subtractive primaries together, in theory, should subtract or absorb all of the light, and that's why it's black, okay? So what I do is I usually will start with, let's say, let's see, I don't have a whole lot of yellow left. Let's do this. Well, I'm going to unload my brush. Let's see. And I usually have pretty good luck mixing red and cyan together to make the black. And remember, the magenta, it's gonna, if you mix red and cyan together, that has cyan obviously, and then the red has magenta and yellow in it. So I just find that's helpful. So I'm gonna try and unload my brush here. I'm gonna get the yellow here that I have left and add a little bit of magenta in there and try to make a red. I need more magenta. There we go. Remember, it shouldn't be orangish, so I'm going to add some more magenta in there to make it almost pinkish. And the reason I'm doing this is because, remember, cyan and magenta are stronger than yellow. So I think if we put equal amounts of cyan, magenta, and yellow, it's just going to be off a little bit. So I find it's easier to make black by making red first, and then adding the pure cyan. And then a little bit more magenta. Okay, that looks pretty good. Okay, so now I have red. I made red down here, and now I'm going to add a little bit of cyan, because I can always add more, but I can't take it out. Okay, and then as I mentioned the other day, these are not the perfect primaries. They're very good, but that's why we're probably not going to get pure black. And so maybe the best we can do is going to be a very dark gray, but it'll be balanced. It shouldn't look brownish. It shouldn't look bluish or yellowish. Okay, and so now mine's a little bit brownish, which means I'm probably going to need to add a little more cyan. Okay, so I'm going to add a little more cyan. That just tells me I need a little more. Okay, if I add too much cyan, it might end up being greenish. Okay, but it should be very, very gray. That means it's perfectly balanced, and that'll be the best we can do. It'll be very, very dark gray, but that's going to end up being our black. And if it's purpley at all, right, then we would add its complement. If it's slightly purplish, we can add a little bit of yellow if you have some. I'm thinking mine's a tiny bit purplish, so I'm going to add a little bit of yellow. I need a little brown, so it's kind of going back and forth here with the cyan. Alright, I think that's pretty good. Okay, let's just have a dark, very, very dark gray, and we'll put that in. That'll be our black. Alright, pretty good. It's pretty dark there. And that's it.